Hi, it's Greg from episode 7 of the How I Vegan podcast. Last year, I started an accessories brand called Assisi Style, creating belts and wallets from cork, a wonderful natural leather alternative that's both vegan and sustainable. So far, I've designed belts and wallets in classic black and brown, with a new two-tone wallet and 2 new handbag designs on the way just in time for Christmas. Each piece comes in a stylish gift box, so they make the ideal gifts for hard-to-buy-for vegans. Visit my website, assisi.style, to view the current range. That's ASSISI.style. Use the voucher code HELLO20 for an extra 20% off our already discounted prices on your first order. Assisi Style. Kindness accessorized.
Hello.
Hello, my lover!
How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
All right. It feels like a long time since I spoke to you, but it was only last week, wasn't it?
Oh, God. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. No, we only messaged last week.
Yes, we did, of course. And you had something that you were going to bring up at the
AGM?
the AGM at the recording.
Yeah. Where was it? Where's your name in my list of people? I've just literally just messaged you, of course. It's just there.
Surely at the top.
Massive Attack. Legendary dance act.
Yes.
They are changing the way they're doing gigs. The gig Massive Attack hope will change the music industry. At their mini festival this past weekend in their hometown of Bristol, which I believe will have been 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I think. The measures were to reduce the event's carbon footprint and included all vegan food, all toilets compostable, electric vans with rechargeable batteries to replace diesel generators, no car park to encourage walking, cycling, and public transport use. Del Naja, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Naya, don't know, Naja. This experiment, by its very virtue of being here, is hopefully going to create some activity, and it's a sector which has a lot to say about climate change, but unfortunately it's not doing much about it.
Yep. Well, you look at I don't know the figures, but you look at the number of flights Taylor Swift has made during her tour. It's been very well publicised that she's been jetting around the world in her private jet. Just that is obviously a bad thing. But then you add in all the equipment, everything, and then the people travelling to and from, and then the number of burgers and hot dogs eaten at the venues. And great idea from Massive Attack. I'd read some of the Instagram comments that were your typical you won't force feed me. One of them was something like, I agree with all of this, but vegan food, WTF. Like that's the worst, like that's the worst possible thing they could imagine.
Yeah, as if. Oh man.
Now you've just gone too far.
Yeah. What were you thinking?
Yeah. Absolutely insane. But yeah, it's a great thing, and hopefully we'll see more people catching on. And I was never really into Massive Attack, but they were one of those bands that were really popular within the music industry.
Yeah. But,
so hopefully they'll have some influence. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No. This is sort of on a side note of what you were saying, really. But I was trying to think. There's got to be like, what do you call them? Edit this nonsense. There's got to be a track that they did that fits into a headline or something. I couldn't think of one. But then you just said this is really tenuous. You said they weren't that big, but they had a following and that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. But they did have tunes, Unfinished
Yeah.
Sympathy, which was incredible, Teardrop, which was humongous. So they
Teardrop's
did
my favourite by a long way.
absolutely. But that was, that they were the biggest hits, and unless you're a big, massive Attack fan, they weren't humongous, were they? I've seen them. I saw them at V Festival years in 2004.
Oh, wow.
But I only know Unfinished Sympathy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Awesome. While we are doing our little intro, I'm just going to give a shout out to John's Vegan Diary, who's one of the content creators that I've been following for quite a while. I'm not sure if you follow him, Wes. He's posted a reel today, the title of which is "Announcement: I am not vegan," and he's posted up some comments made by one in particular, but some of our friendly militant vegans who have said things like, the word vegan shouldn't be in your nickname. Veganism is the principle that humans have no right to exploit other sentient animals. If you disagree with the vegan principle, why call yourself a vegan? And this was because a couple of days ago he did a post kind of encouraging non-vegans, people who are vegetarian, pescatarian,
yeah,
flexitarian, encouraging them and kind of saying, thanks for doing what you do. Let's sort of bring you along. Let's bring you
right.
on board, kind of thing. And
Okay.
David C. Arenas, who I've seen commenting on a few other posts, has gone very much I'm more vegan than you,
Brilliant.
kind of up on his high horse, which obviously, as we know, isn't vegan, but he's straight up on his high horse and looking down on him. He's probably hurt his neck by how far he's looking down.
Right.
So shout out to John, support for you, my friend. It's a ridiculous situation that vegans are attacking each other.
Yeah.
And
We're on the same side, everyone.
yeah, and being a militant vegan might work to convert some people, but it doesn't work to convert everyone. So
No.
we need a broad spectrum of voices, not
Yeah.
just people shouting at other people.
No. I'm not shouting at each other on this side of the fence. It just does my nutting. It's that we've said it before and we'll say it again, but I'm more vegan than you. I'm a perfect vegan because I do all these things. You can't do everything. It is impossible to do everything.
Yeah, absolutely insane. So there we go. On a happier note, today for dinner I made barbecue tofu steaks from a recipe by School Night Vegan, which was a very, very
Nice.
simple recipe and very delicious. Highly recommended.
Cool. I had peanut butter and Marmite mushrooms with pasta.
Ooh, tell me more. What's the process?
I swear I've done this before, but let's do it again for those that haven't heard it before. You fry your mushrooms as you would normally, and then when they're browned and gorgeous, in fact, I'll bang a bit of garlic in there as well, make them garlic mushrooms. Get a teaspoon of peanut butter, teaspoon of Marmite, put it in the pan. Quite see my measurements aren't measurements. Quite a bit of plant-based milk, and then just heat it up until you've got a nice creamy sauce. Oh my god,
Wow.
yeah! It's sort of stroganoff-y,
Yeah. Sounds good.
kind
I
of.
like the sound of that.
But you can put that with pasta or rice, or just
Mm.
eat them on their own, and then drink the
Oh
sauce.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dip your sourdough bread in it.
Oh,
Have
lovely
some.
jubbly. Yeah,
Boom.
I'm fine with that. Good. So, listeners, we always love to hear from you. So, send us a message on Instagram. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast, or send an email to
howiveganpodcast@gmail.com.
Coffee with milk, please.
We only have plant milk. Is that okay?
Stop! It's not okay. And if something like this has happened to you, you need to call me, Seymour Loudermilk, right now. If you've had your feelings hurt by a vegan, you could be entitled to compensation.
Oat milk, soy milk, almond milk?
No thanks. I'll have louder milk. And I'll see you in court.
Get more with Seymour. Call 866-8-VEGANS. 8vegans.com.
how funny is that?
Brilliant.
And the great thing is that is a real website, and there is hardly anything on it that would indicate that it's actually a pro-vegan website
Brilliant.
until you click links.
Brilliant.
So, like Elwood's is a fantastic website. The top half of the first page is all
Yeah.
about eating dogs. And then you scroll down a bit more and then it's like, we didn't mean dogs, we meant pigs. Sorry. So that's all right then, isn't it? But this is completely like vegans are idiots, vegans are assholes. And some of it you'd think, well, that's just ridiculous. But it's a really funny website. And then there's a thing down the bottom and it's like, watch this video to find out more. And then it takes you to Dominion.
Right.
It's a link to watch Dominion online, which obviously is very vegan. So it's only when you come out of it to the link that you find out, oh, actually, do you know what? But it's a great website. Probably should. We've been playing that advert for weeks, and I've not actually mentioned it on the show, so I should probably put a link. I'll put a link in to show so people can find out some more.
That's really good. Loudermilk. That's what I'm thinking. Loudermilk. Elliot Loudermilk is the character in Scrooged.
Oh, maybe that's where they got the name then. I don't know.
It might just be a surname, and they've, used it. But yeah, Loudermilk. So whenever I hear that, I just think about the guy. It's the guy that was in Police Academy. That one.
No, I don't think I've seen Scrooged.
You've seen Police Academy though. Oh, Matthew.
Maybe.
Okay,
I've seen one of them. I know there's about 25, weren't there? And I've seen some of one of them, and I don't know if I saw enough to make me want to watch the rest.
Fair enough. Okay. Go watch Scrooged. Scrooged is amazing. It's so 80s and so great.
Is that the one? Is that Bill Murray? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There he is.
Hey, James. Oh, nice that you got the dress code. Beard, no hair, and a dark blue hoodie. Wes didn't get that message, but he has got a beard and no hair.
Well, I feel I've got to put my glasses on the top of my head as well then. Plain intellectual, but yeah.
Whenever I put my glasses down, I feel like I look like I'm boss-eyed. So I'm like...
I only put mine on to feign intelligence. I actually look like I know what I'm talking about.
Right, we're going to do I'm going to do a quick intro, and it is really quick. So, a few weeks ago, we mentioned on here that I went on a men's retreat with my friend Nathan, and I met this evening's guest, who was a co-facilitator on that retreat. That weekend changed my life. It has changed a lot of stuff about the way I live my life, and part of that is down to our guest, and tonight's guest is James, the mental health and retreat legend. Welcome, pal.
Is that your official job title, James?
Yeah, that's the shortened version.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know what James does. We weren't allowed to talk about jobs.
Oh, yeah. But mental health and retreat legend is a great job title. I like it.
Yeah, no, I'll go with that. I'll stick that on my LinkedIn profile, I think.
Anyway, welcome, James. Tell us then about the retreat, because Wes has been very evangelical about it since he came back, and he's been telling us in each episode about things that have changed his outlook on various things. So tell us the background then. What's it all about?
So the retreat really came out of a retreat that I'd been on actually previously. I went down to Cornwall and did one down there, and it was a similar kind of experience to me. It was like 10 guys that bonded together really quickly, and I was amazed at how quickly we all did kind of gel. And I could see the impact that it had on the guys, and I wanted to facilitate a similar kind of thing, but locally to me, so that I could not only experience the process of kind of doing that with a group of guys, but also to hold space for them in a way that I'd felt, and how much that had kind of impacted on me. So I wanted to kind of share that, really. So I'd made a promise, not only to myself, but also to Nathan, to say that I would do this. And it was as much a thing about sort of following through on that promise as anything else. And yeah, it was emotional.
Yeah.
It was an interesting process of kind of not making it about me, and I'm hoping that it wasn't about me. It was about, the guys that were there, and holding space for them so that they could really talk to each other, get them a little bit uncomfortable, do things that they wouldn't necessarily enjoy doing, but would appreciate having done them. Because as we all know, that's where the growth is, out of your comfort zone. And also, I think for me, and this is kind of an insider's perspective, is my historical issue with, I guess, trusting men and them putting their trust in me. And again, that was another big part of it, that I was able to be what I needed to be for that group of men, without that coming into the kind of space and affecting it, that that I could allow myself to be vulnerable with, as it turned out, sort of 5-6 other guys.
And I'm assuming people that you hadn't met and didn't know well, because you could imagine, or I could imagine, doing that with certain people that I know, not many, but certain people that I know. But people that I wouldn't know, that would be so far beyond my comfort zone. I'd need a jumbo jet to get there. That would be such a challenge.
Because I'd met, obviously, Nathan before, having sort of, as Wes said, to co-facilitate. And I knew a couple of the other guys, to be fair. And there were a couple that I didn't know, I hadn't met before. And for me, that was almost, it was a blessing and a curse at the same time. Blessing that I knew them and felt comfortable with them, but I knew them. So the fact that I was going to see them again adds another kind of dimension to it, that I think possibly with a group of complete strangers, I can be who I needed to be, who I would want to be.
Yeah, I get that.
When you don't know the other people, it's you think it would be much harder, but it's actually much easier, because you're never going to see. You're most likely never going to see them again.
Yeah, it's not that.
You can be your authentic self and not worry about it.
Yeah, and that kind of internal sort of narrative that's going on, that's saying, well, you can't say that, you can't do, because again, you're going to have contact with them. But with a group of guys that you would probably never see again, you're absolutely right. I think you can be much more kind of open and honest, and not have that kind of voice in the back of your head regarding judgment.
That's a good shout. And even if you feel like you've got it wrong, it doesn't matter, because
and there's
like you say, you're never going to see them, so you're never going to have be stuck in a shame well because you've done something wrong.
And I think if you go into it with that sort of like mindset of doing right or doing wrong, that can really derail you. I think all you can do is kind of be there as a vehicle, and then let everybody else kind of do the work. You're there just to kind of guide and slightly sort of manipulate and move them in a particular direction and let them get on with it. If I then sort of become the main event, it ain't going to work. It's about ego, and it's about, again, it's about me. And my intention going into it was for it not to be about me.
Yeah, it's it's not like you're trying to form some sort of cult of James or something, are you? That's it's all, like you say, it's not all about you. It's about the individual who's going and them building up themselves.
Yeah, and I think you're in danger, possibly this kind of space to attract maybe narcissists and these kind of gurus and false prophets and all that sort of thing. And I think, you can quite easily be drawn into that as somebody who facilitates something like this. And I think you've got to have a kind of a good look at yourself and figure out the reasons why you are doing it, and making sure that it's not, as I said, about the ego. It's not about your, it's not a power trip. It's not about, influencing anybody else. I just think it's so important that we hold space for guys to talk to each other in a meaningful way, not just about football, what they watched on the TV the night before, or sort of punching each other in the arm and going, yeah, you'll be all right, and calling them a twat, and, you get over it, and, man up, and all that. And it's uncomfortable, for guys to really, really get into moments and when they've been low, when they've been in a situation where they felt less than, emasculinated. But it all comes down to the foundational piece is shame.
Yeah.
We all feel shame, and shame is the cornerstone of guilt and fear and anger that we experience, and it's all shame based. So if we can douse the shame with love and openness and understanding and caring, then it has no oxygen.
I love that.
And it's that thing, isn't it? Like, we talked about it then, and I talk about it all the time, really, to other people. But it's the amount of men that haven't felt physical touch with other men, hugging each other and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, that's really awkward and weird. It's not.
No.
Let's just be nice to each other. Let's just have a hug, because hugging is great. But if you've not been brought up in a place, if your dad wasn't a hugger, or your whatever your role model, if they didn't have that emotion for them to give to you, you're not going to have it either. And when you do feel it, it's like, ugh, it's horrible. Let's do it. Let's change that narrative, and let's start being kinder to each other.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I know plenty of guys that I'm almost kind of like compelled to hug them because I know that they feel uncomfortable.
I love that.
And it's
just to feel them wriggling and like, get off.
Yeah, just to kind of, it's like that, and their arms are down by their sides, like, oh, just get it over
Please
and
don't
done
touch me.
And so it's like, because I know that they're that way inclined, that I'm sort of, it's, I don't feel good about it, but I do quite a lot.
Yeah.
I try to.
I think the best hug is the one that you hold on to just for a bit too long. Make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. About 7 is about 7 seconds. I think is a sweet spot. Anything past 7 is when it really get uncomfortable.
Fantastic. It's a great idea, because not the hugging, the well, hugging, yes, but the getting in touch with your emotions and all that kind of stuff, because so much of life is all about dealing with probably fragile masculinity, and obviously we're all men here, and how many times has somebody gone to shake your hand and gripped it like it was a vice, just to try and show some sort of dominance in their mind over you, or yeah, I'm not that tall. I'm what am I, 5'7", something like that, and so any tall person who's that way inclined, I don't mean you, Wes, because you're 6'3", but you've never done this to me, but tall people do it to me a lot, where they're kind of like a bit too close, and so that they can look down, and that's like asserting, for me, that's like they feel like they're asserting dominance, when really I'm not the sort of person that would be bothered about that. I'm not, because I'm not that going up against them in that way that they're behaving. It doesn't really affect me, but I know other people who are my sort of height would think, "Oh God, this guy's massive. He must be better than me."
So do you think then, because you don't react in that way, that makes them sort of do it even more because you're not responding to those?
I would just take the piss out of them for doing it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what they think, really. And if I can make somebody else laugh at them because of what they're doing, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it always sort of strikes me that, if you don't rise to the bait, that kind of, it either kind
Oh, yeah, they'll hate it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it works one of two ways, doesn't it? It's kind of either just takes the wind out of their sails, and they're like, "Oh, well, it's pointless because it's not having the desired effect," or it makes them want to do it even more because they're angry that you haven't responded in the way they'd anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, but it's all insecurity. I mean, fundamentally, if people are happy in themselves, they don't feel the compunction to make other people feel less than.
This is it, and it's and it goes to the sort of fragile masculinity. They think that's how they have to behave, so they behave that way. But it's really because it goes back to the shame, grief, whatever, not being able to process their own emotions properly. That then makes them act in that way, and it just makes me laugh.
And we've all had times in our lives when we felt angry because our insecurities got the better of us, and maybe there's some jealousy there's some feeling of inadequacy, and why me, and the blame kind of culture and victimhood and all that sort of thing. And I think we've, if we're all honest, we've all fallen foul of that in the past. But it's the work that we do that allows us then to kind of sit with those emotions. And I think it's never a case of suppressing them. I think that's a slippery slope and dangerous. I think over the kind of my life that I have repressed emotion, and it's become calcified, and you internalize it. If you don't experience it and you don't externalize it, then it just gets layered down and can manifest itself as kind of autoimmune disease, just dis-ease generally.
Yeah.
You don't know why. You don't know why you're always getting tired or always getting ill and colds and all that sort of adrenal fatigue. And the majority of the time is because you haven't dealt with those issues.
Yeah.
And you people please, and you try to ingratiate yourself with everybody because that's learned behavior, because you didn't get what you needed as a child. So we're tribal first and foremost, so we want to feel that we fit in, but you go over and above to get what you didn't get as a child, if that was your situation. And it is this people-pleasing side, which you then, if you've had an argument or you've had an altercation and you didn't speak your mind, you didn't, stick up for yourself, then afterwards you just berate.
Yeah.
And it festers. And that's where the anger then comes from, that builds up, then in a situation where, you could be, and it's like, well, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to feel small, so I'm now going to, go hit somebody or do something, violent, or you don't, and you just again, layer it down. But I think the best way of doing it is to feel the anger, experience it, and it's okay.
Mm.
But to really get that sense of being pissed off at something's happened, that's really fucked me off, I'm angry. That's okay. You don't have to act on it, but you do have to feel it. But all the time you're kind of suppressing it and saying, oh, no, I was in the wrong. No, that was my fault. No, they're right. That was me. It just gets layered and layered and layered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And we're taught, that suppression is because we've been told for so long, like you said, to man up. To put you shouldn't exert your emotions or talk about your problems. So they, like you said, they just keep building up and building up.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Oh, you're welcome.
Fascinating.
You're welcome.
So the one of the things Wes told us was the food that was served during the retreat was let me get this right, 2 bowls of vegetable stew.
Yes.
And that was it. So where does fasting come into it?
2 small bowls of vegetables.
Well,
He's got to get that in, hasn't he? He's got to get that in.
yeah, mate. Yeah, small for you, Wes, I think. But so yeah, I kind of let everybody know that that was what it was going to be, not to bring any food with them. And it was part of the kind of the adversity. It was part of the way in which we can get everybody out of their comfort zone in terms of the amount that we eat on a regular basis, the volume that we eat, the regularity that we eat. And basically we were never designed to eat that way. We've all read and done the research around our ancestors and the fact that we were sort of hunter-gatherers, and we would find food that was, in terms of biodiversity, what was available. And I think in my head, I'm kind of, when it comes to veganism as well, that it doesn't make sense, evolutionary speaking, the amount of energy it takes to go hunt an animal, chase it down, kill it, butcher it, eat it. The energy expenditure to do that is disproportionate to growing your own vegetables, finding nuts and berries and seeds and things that are just there ready to be picked. So if it was available and readily available, then okay. But when you think about how much energy is required to perform that on a regular basis, it just doesn't make sense. And then fast forward to today, when we don't have to hunt, it's just there. Our bodies are just not designed to eat in such vast quantities, and certainly meat in the amount of quantity that we eat. And obviously, you can go into refined sugars and everything else, processed foods, etc. But really, in answer to your question, it was to kind of focus the mind a little bit more, to feel uncomfortable, to feel hungry. But during that process, you do get a certain level of ketosis, these ketone bodies that start to be released from the body starting to use fat as an energy store as opposed to glycogen. And where we eat so readily and so frequently, you're never getting out of that situation where you're using glycogen as an energy store. So you've got all this calorie surplus there that's just being utilized, and you're never really dipping into the fat stores. And when you do dip into the fat stores, these ketone bodies are released. The brain needs that fuel, and you get this incredible clarity in your head. The brain fog goes, your mind is clear, loads of energy, again, which seems counterintuitive when you've not got the fuel in you, that you've got more energy, you feel more kind of vibrant.
Okay.
So it was to kind of get that as an add-on to everything else that was going on. So we had the cold water exposure, we had the rucksack that we were carrying, the long walks, we had the, meditation, breath work, talk, fireside chats, all that sort of thing, and sleeping under canvas, keeping the fire alight at night, which went down an absolute...
That was definitely Wes's least favourite part.
Yeah, I think
I loved it. I loved it, except being on my own in a forest in the middle of the night was scaring absolute shit.
All the spiders.
I just kept hearing rustling. It could have been deer, birds, anything, but I just thought it was a mad axe murderer.
Yeah.
Mad axe murdering spider.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be another sort of thing we were going to include, is some bloke coming through.
Oh God.
Dear.
Brilliant.
That's probably bad stress as opposed to good stress.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, in answer to your question, it was really to just kind of add another dimension. And I think it had some interesting results. I mean, with you, Wes, I think that was a kind of big thing for you, wasn't it? And the majority of us have not gone 24 hours without eating.
No, that's a lot. And also after your whole life up to that point of eating 2 or 3, at least 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
And then to suddenly not. Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I do at least 4 days a week now. It's mad.
Mate.
That's incredible.
I do. I eat Monday morning. So I have my Sunday evening meal, and then as of then I don't eat again till Monday evening, and I eat within a 2 hour window between like 5 and 7. And yeah, I'll do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I can't help it but grab a bag of chips on the way home from work on a Friday.
Can't help it.
But that's it. I don't always get chips.
Yeah.
I don't always get chips. It's okay.
Why me, Wes? Why me? You know you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then even over a weekend, I'm not really like going mad. I could take it. I'm at a point now. I could take it or leave it.
Yeah. So everything adjusts. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't do. Yeah. I did say to everybody beforehand, it's like, I think I let everybody know about 2 weeks before the date to start reducing. So what you don't do is cold turkey. You don't just do a 24-hour fast, having eaten 3 meals a day for the last 40 odd years, 50 years of your life, whatever, and then go straight into doing 24 hours because you're going to feel dizzy, you're going to feel nauseous, you're going to feel, it's not going to be great. So, you just maybe not have breakfast, but have something to eat maybe at 11 o'clock, a light lunch, and then dinner, for example. Then the next day, maybe you have breakfast, you don't have lunch, and you have dinner. So you're just progressively reducing the calorie intake. And over time, you can do it.
Mm.
So at any one time, the average body has got about 100,000 calories stored in it for fuel. 100,000 calories. That's a lot. So you're not
2 days food.
You're not going to keep this 2 days.
God, that's horrendous. That's amazing.
You're not going to kilo. You're not going to die. So they did this thing where they went out on the street and they sort of did these interviews in the street and said, how long do you think you can survive without food? Most people went, a day? This is survive. This is not like people thought that you would actually physically die if you didn't eat for a day. And it was like, how long do you think you could go without eating food? So, some said 24 hours, some said, maybe 2 days, 3 days. So it's again this kind of education piece is that people just think that you cannot survive if you. Now, drinking water is something very different.
Yes.
Is entirely different because yes, if you don't sleep for about 3 or 4 days, it's game over. I mean, literally game over.
Mm.
Dehydration is a thing as well, but food intake, you're all good. You're absolutely good. So the most I've done is 5 days. And the first day is tricky. You get to about 4 o'clock and it's, you feel you want to kind of have something to eat. You get through that, get to the next day. The second day is kind of a bit of a slog. third day easy, fourth day even easier, fifth day it's like I could do this for a week.
Wow.
So just the longer you do it, the easier it gets. Now, you don't do that often. And again, depending on the size you are to begin with. So if you're vastly overweight, you could probably be okay doing that maybe once a month, 2 months, like a prolonged fast. But if you're of a kind of normal weight, maybe once or twice a year.
Oh, and that's
Wow.
it. Wow.
All right. That's if you are, of normal weight and athletic build and all that sort of thing. You probably twice a year would be okay. But between 17 and 72 hours, your body goes into this process called autophagy, which is where you can actually repair cells that have gone bad and could potentially turn cancerous.
Wow.
So it's like a reboot for the system. And that happens between 17 and 72 hours.
Wow.
So you can prevent serious disease just by not eating. And it's crazy. The body's mechanisms for repair are amazing. And it's literally as simple as that. So combination, I mean, we haven't even touched on being a vegan, but, with a predominantly plant-based diet, with some intermittent fasting and some prolonged fasting in there, you are in very good shape.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Now, one of the caveats that we've been saying each time, James, that Wes has brought this up is don't just listen to us on a podcast talking about it. If you're considering it, do some good research. Obviously, we've got you on. You do know what you're talking about. But just because you've listened to a podcast, it doesn't mean it's the right thing for you.
Absolutely right. And it's, the caveat is that you have to, make sure, because there's obviously lots of medical conditions and circumstances where it wouldn't be the right thing for you to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
You must consult your physician, your doctor, your GP, whatever, but absolutely do your research.
Yeah.
Do not just, as you say, listen to somebody pontificating on a podcast. Oh, that's a bloody good idea. Because we all do it to the extreme. Like I said, it's like you go in cold turkey. I mean, like cold water exposure. Don't go jumping into an abandoned
some abandoned quarry or something all by yourself in the middle of December.
into the middle and then go, oh shit, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Because, just don't. Just don't. Little and often and build up to it is the key. But absolutely, you're right. Do the research, consult with a professional before you do anything.
That's it.
Absolutely. So, we sort of touched on it then. What is your vegan story? How did you get to where you're at, vegan wise?
So I was just working it out actually. I think it's about 4 years vegan. It may be 5 years. I think it might be 5 years. And I based it on how long we've been in the house that we're in, because I think I turned vegan just before we moved here. And we've been here 5 years, so yeah, it's about 5 years. So my daughter's been vegetarian probably since she was about 13, 14. Just didn't like the texture of meat and the taste and all that thing. So she's always been kind of that way. And then I went pescatarian first. Then I went vegetarian. Then I watched What the Health. And that was it.
Was it?
Full vegan after What the Health. And then it's sort of, Cowspiracy and Knives Over Forks and all that sort of stuff. So, done a lot of research around it since. But anecdotally, I always kind of felt like there's a sort of block at the back of my neck and gave me this sort of brain fog. And cognitively, I just wasn't, particularly on it. Just there was something not quite right. Headaches, wasn't sleeping well, digestive issues, all that sort of thing. Bloating and, et cetera, et cetera. Since being vegan, It's gone. It's absolutely gone. All of that, cognitively, and combined with the fasting as well, and the ketone bodies and stuff. But there's no brain fog. That block isn't there anymore. I'd be having conversations with people, and I'd be repeating things that I'd said like not 2 minutes before, and they were like, "James, we've talked about this."
That's incredible.
Like, holy shit!
So did the fasting come with the veganism, or were you already fasting before? Where did that come along?
Veganism came first, and the fasting has been probably over the last couple of years.
Okay. So what was it that got you to pescatarian and then vegetarian first of all? Was that your daughter's influence on you, or where did that come from?
I mean, she's just.
We won't tell her. It's fine.
Yeah, no, she's just come over now. She said, Dad, it was me that started all this. Was it? I'm trying to remember, but I mean, subliminally, maybe it was like, possibly. I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember why or what started the process. It must have been something that I read or something that I've, I mean, the majority of us know that too much red meat is not great. Certainly processed meat, like bacon, being listed as a type 1 carcinogen, all that sort of thing. That was potentially playing on my mind and sort of turning, well, it would have been sort of 45, 46, that I thought, yeah, I've got to kind of change things up here. So I'll give it a go. And again, I think, so then going then, I guess, overfishing, mercury, all the stuff that's in water. I then went to vegetarian, and as I said, watched What the Health, and that was it. That was dairy industry. The whole thing was like, nah, not doing that anymore. But if it hadn't have felt so good so quickly, I probably wouldn't have stuck with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because literally, I would have meat, certainly with lunch and definitely with dinner, on a daily basis. There would always be meat. When we went out for dinner, my wife and I would always have a steak, medium rare. It was just a thing, portobello mushrooms, a nice glass of red wine. That's another thing I haven't drunk for probably 4 years. I haven't had alcohol for about 4 years as well. So that's another kind of addition.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting because I was a real meat eater, a real meat eater.
Yeah.
It was almost my thing. To let that go, it's kind of an identity thing, isn't it? I think one of these situations is like, if you don't believe you are somebody that ... then you won't do it. If I didn't think of myself as somebody that didn't eat meat, I would still be eating meat. And it is definitely for health reasons, certainly in the beginning. And I think the payoff and the bonus is animal welfare as well. That it was an afterthought. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't my main concern at the beginning. It was more the health effects. And then I thought, well, actually, I'm not doing any harm. I'm treading lightly on the earth, as they say.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, definitely for me, Cowspiracy was the film that did it for me. And then initially it was, I'm doing what I can to save the planet. And then as you do the research like you did, you realise more and more, actually, do you know what? It's about the animals that we're saving.
Yeah, and environment as well. When you look at statistics on how much water is needed.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. And I know, that we're not blameless. A lot of things that sort of we eat, that there are casualties in that with the farming processes and, with land clearing and all that sort of stuff. But I think in comparison, it's fairly negligible.
Yeah. But the only way to do it perfectly would be to go back to what you were talking about earlier on, when we were sort of nomadic tribes wandering the land who would just eat what they found.
Yeah.
And if you lived then just off nuts and berries and fruit and vegetables that you found, then that would be as close to being the perfect vegan. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Nobody can do that.
Yeah, there's, you know, I guess you can be sort of fairly self-sufficient if you grow your own vegetables and, you know, but it is tricky. It is, and it is interesting, the sort of the arguments that get leveled against you. It's like, well, you know, vegans have a shit diet. Well, some vegans have a shit diet.
Yeah.
There's no ways about it. But then some carnivores.
Plenty of carnivores have a shit diet.
Shit diet. But it's like, you know, and I have kind of, dare I say it, prided myself on not being judgmental in any way. How can I be for 45 years eating meat?
Yeah.
So I'm never, you know, I'm not this kind of person just to go, oh, well, you know, meat's murder and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, how hypocritical do you want to get? But all I do say is, look, just anecdotally for me, it works. It just worked. And like I said, if it hadn't have been so immediate, that I probably wouldn't have kept going with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not there beating the vegan drum and like everybody else is, you know, a murderer, etc. It's just like, everybody is doing as best they can, you know, and they have to be at the right point in time to make a decision one way or the other.
Yeah, I was like that. There was no way I was going to do it, and then I watched Cowspiracy, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
I'd have never done it before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to do it that night. Never did.
What 2 hours that was, Wes.
No, it's
Turn your whole life around.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you guys. I mean, was it a kind of what was the process? What started it?
So the thing that started it for me was Wes. So Wes, you go first and tell us.
So my wife was vegan before I met her. She was vegan from like a teenager, and I gave her all the bingo stuff. You know, all the but bacon. What if you're on a desert island? All that nonsense. And then we moved up here, up to Rochdale, and I thought she was doing something. I wasn't sure, couldn't quite clock it, but I thought something was happening. And she'd put Cowspiracy on. And I was sat there and I was like, I'm not going to watch this. I'm just going to play on my phone. And 20 minutes in, the phone was down. I was like, right, what's this then? And I sat through got to the end. I just turned to her and I said, so would we save money going vegan? And she just went, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's it. And I'm done. And that was it. I went to sleep that night, and the following morning I went down to the co-op and bought my first Oatly Barista and had coffee with Oatly Barista in it, and that was me done. And apart from the odd mistake, I even fucked up last night. We've got some chocolate spread in the cupboard. I thought it was like I can't remember the brand. I thought it was a vegan brand, and it's not.
Yeah.
Oh.
I made a mistake, you know, and I'm not going to beat myself up on it.
No.
Apart from those odd mistakes, I've never turned back, and I never would.
Yeah, and I found out that Wes was vegan, and much like you, James, Wes was our family's Mr. Meat, because we're brothers-in-law. Our wives are sisters. When I say it like that, it sounds like some sort of weird like family web kind of thing. Wes and I aren't related, other than our wives are each other's sister.
It wasn't weird until you went there, mate. I was kind of like,
no, okay, fine. Like, it's not like our kids have all got 6 fingers each or anything on each hand. It's
between the fingers.
Yeah. Give me 6.
Really good swimmers.
I thought you were supposed to
Good swimmer. Yeah. So I found out he'd gone vegan, and I was like, seriously, this is the man who would eat like anything that had been killed, basically. He was the steak man, you know, whenever we went out for a meal or whatever. And I was like, I've got to find out more about this. So turned out he'd watched Cowspiracy, and I was like, well, I've got to watch it. So me and my wife watched it, and we were like, Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we'll go in for that as well. And that was that. What's that? 6 years? Is it? 6.5 years
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yes, like I said earlier on, for me it was about the environment, and then the further I got into it, I was like, yeah, partly a sort of realization that the environment is fairly fucked, I think, but also the knowledge that I now have over how animals are treated on such a massive scale. I think, how could I ever go back?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
we go. And just to go back to what you were saying about, you know, the fasting, and you could live for say 4 weeks, a month without eating, technically, as long as you were drinking, and that kind of ties in with the if you were on a desert island with a pig. For me, if I was on a desert island with a pig, my first concern would be: is there running water, fresh water? If there's no fresh water, I'm going to be dead in 3 days. So I might as well not bother about the pig. And when you start looking at it like that and answering it like that, people get very bored very, very quickly, because as soon as you don't say, I'm going to eat the pig, there's no gotcha moment there, is there? So
Yeah.
if I'm saying, okay, is there fresh running water? No, it's just you and a pig. Well, I'm going to be dead in 3 days, so I'm not going to bother killing the pig.
Yeah.
And the pig can eat my body, and then the pig will live a bit longer.
Yeah.
If there's fresh running water, fine. I'll be fine for a month. If I'm on a desert island and it's just me and a pig, I'm going to have a good month chatting with a pig. And then if I haven't been rescued after a month, I'm probably mostly insane, because I've just been sat on a desert island talking to a pig for a month. So really, what's the point? So then there's no gotcha then, is there? And you just go through it with that sort of level of ridiculousness that hits back at their ridiculousness, that you've somehow ended up on this desert island with a pig, and then you're both talking absolute bollocks, and then like there's no fun in that anymore, is there? Like, oh,
Yeah.
what a boring vegan he is. They haven't beat me.
The way my sort of mind works is, all I can think is like saying you can't polish a turd.
Yeah.
Like, you can't put lipstick on a pig because it's
True.
still doesn't make it any more attractive.
No.
Pig's going to be nervous as fuck, isn't it? You're
Oh,
on
Especially
that.
if you're putting lipstick on it. Where did you get that lipstick from?
Like, I don't know.
But also think about it. If you killed the pig, right? Firstly,
Yeah.
How? Because I was at Brook Farm Animal Sanctuary at the weekend. It was their open day. Okay. And those pigs are fucking massive. How? So firstly, how?
Yeah.
Secondly, right, you've got some raw pig flesh. Now what? Say you can make a fire. Which bit of the pig is it safe for you to eat? Because people generally only eat ham or pork. Ham, pork, it's all been cured in some way, bacon and all that sort of thing. So which bit are you eating that isn't going to kill you? And how long are you cooking it for? And all those sort of, really, again, this is the sort of thing that people don't want you to come back with because they just want you to say, oh yeah, I'll eat the pig. But if you start really digging into it and asking them, how would you do that then? You take all the fun out of it for them. And that's the way that I've answered that twice, and people just end up getting bored and walking away. Because it's a ridiculous question. So if you're going to come at me with ridiculous stuff, I'll go back at you with ridiculous stuff. And all right, how am I going to do it? And also, once you've done that, you get maybe one meal out of that. The next day on a desert island, is that meat going to be any good? So where's the rest? Where's your food coming from then?
Yeah.
The fridge. So then you've killed the one food, what they would say is a food source, for one meal, and the next day you've got to bin it because there's all flies all around it and it's off and it's going to kill you if you eat it. And then you've got no more food.
How the pig got on the desert island in the first place.
That's it.
At least you've crashed in a plane. How did the pig get there?
Maybe it was flying the plane and that's why you crashed.
One of these kind of existential angst types sort of scenarios, like, does the pig actually exist?
Yes. Are you so delirious through being on a desert island that you're hallucinating a pig?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Could you eat your hallucinatory pig?
Yeah. I would say
Anyway,
down a rabbit hole, but that just brings a rabbit into question as well. Let's not go there.
anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So, James, what was the biggest struggle when you went vegan then? If any?
I definitely think initially I did miss meat. I did miss the flavour and certainly the smell of cooking meat. I mean, even now, still, it's like a barbecue. I'm like, the barbecue.
Yeah.
There's a distinct, and it's not even. I think it's because it was so part of my, again, going back to identity. I mean, I used to, when I would cook a barbecue, there's a picture of me with like 3 barbecues in a row. And I'm there, like sausages on one and burgers on another and chicken breast. And I'm literally going from one, just like, and it was kind of a real sort of social thing that we do and people coming around. And I was like the barbecue king, you know, like it was just, I would pride myself on the timing of everything coming out, you know, like turning the sausages, making sure that nothing burnt and the smell and everything else. So it was a social element. And that's kind of gone now. But then saying that, I mean, there's entirely adequate. If you want to go down the process kind of route, it's like Beyond Burgers, there's, you know, kind of cheap Richmond sausages that, you know, vegan, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's never quite been the same.
Yeah.
I kind of almost lament that slightly, but I don't know that it's been a major kind of, it's not felt like a massive sacrifice or a hardship, to be honest. And now, because it's entirely part of my identity, that I kind of don't think about. I still have dreams where I've eaten meat and woken up in the morning feeling absolutely devastated, thinking,
oh wow,
I had a bacon sandwich. Oh my God. In that semi kind of like wake up, the dream within a dream, feeling so disappointed with myself.
Wow. And that's the thing, isn't it? You can
That's
dream
incredible.
about it and feel that level of disappointment. So if you did it in real life,
yeah,
really have that disappointment, wouldn't you? And it's
yeah.
like,
and I couldn't imagine. But there is, saying sort of all of this, there's very interesting research around, in terms of your age and the optimal diet for your age. Now, sort of past 65 or so, the recommendation is you start to reintroduce some animal protein. This is really interesting bit of research. Or certainly something like, you know, in terms of dairy, eggs.
right.
Reintroducing that, but really it's kind of an age-related thing. And it's more to do with, obviously you've got age-related sarcopenia, where starting to lose muscle mass and all that sort of thing. And again, the kind of the research is suggesting that actually after that age, it might be an idea to start reintroducing. That's just to throw it out there. But again, to sort of do some kind of research around that. I'm unsure as to what I'm going to do when I reach that age, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's something to consider.
Okay. Yeah. Depends what other research comes out as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether that backs it up or all that.
Yeah. And again, it you know, in terms of the wealth of the research, in terms of, you know, whether that's one particular aspect, one person's perspective, but he's a fairly credible guy.
Right.
So, but we'll.
So what you said about your daughter? So what do the rest of your friends and family think about it? Are they all on board, or particularly people coming around for your barbecues?
Yeah, people go, oh shit, no, yeah, you're a vegan, aren't you? yeah. I have been for 5 years. And even now, I mean, I think people are certainly becoming more accepting of it because it's become more mainstream.
Yeah.
Not as rare as it certainly used to be. I think, and I was quite interested to hear actually how many people are adopting a plant-based diet over in the US now that, meat consumption has gone down dramatically. Chicken, not so much. Chicken is still as popular as ever, but I think beef consumption has gone down dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
But, battery farming, chickens and things like that is just, I mean, it's terrible. But I think that has dropped less than red meat.
Yeah.
I think chicken is still very, very, very popular because it's, a lean protein. The gym bros are still consuming it like it's going out of fashion.
Yeah.
And more so than red meat. I think the red meat message has gotten through, but the white meat, lean chicken is still as dominant as ever.
Yeah. It's a good point, actually.
What's the best thing for you about being vegan?
I think first and foremost, it's how it makes me feel. Like I said, it's the clarity of mind, the no. I mean, I cannot remember the last time I had a headache. I cannot remember, and that's pretty huge. That quality of sleep has improved. Like, digestive issues have just gone. The bloating I used to get, just really uncomfortable. I mean, when you think about how long it takes to digest meat and getting it processed through the colon, all that sort of thing, again,
that is a massive thing. Yeah.
Biologically, we're not designed to digest a lot of meat. Our intestines and the colon, everything else is just not of sufficient length to be able to process that. We're just not built. So, that's been, if I'm being honest, that's the main benefit that I'm getting from it. And as I said, as a nice kind of side is is animal welfare. So that makes me sleep better at night as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tremendous.
What's your favourite go-to meal apart from small bowls of vegetable stew?
Or nothing at all.
Very small.
A thimble of vegetable stew.
Yeah, soup's on. There's I'm a pretty simple guy, so like today, for example, lunch I had some tofu just kind of cut into strips. I cut up a red pepper into strips. I had some chestnut mushrooms, chucked those in a hot pan, stir fried those up, chucked in some. I think I had some spinach with it, some black bean sauce, and that was it. That was lunch, and that was 5 minutes. This evening was a little different. I get these meal kind of boxes.
Oh yeah.
So I get Plant Hood, and I also get Gusto. So I get the plant-based Gusto, and obviously Plant Hood is Plant Hood is like, it's a sachet of ready-made sauce that you stick in. This is actually more mushrooms. So it was like a mushroom sort of paella thing, which was really, really nice. But yeah, a stir fry, just simple, lots of green, lots of color, usually mushrooms, usually some tofu, maybe some tempeh sometimes. But whatever just takes like 5 minutes to cook, I'm all in.
Sounds like a plan.
Love that.
Easy.
Yeah, good. All right.
Just snacking on nuts.
Yeah.
So just a handful of nuts, good source of selenium. There's protein in there. I've got some sort of raisins and sultanas and bits and pieces. Snack on semi-dried apricots. But yeah, definitely nuts, some sort of pulses and beans and all that kind of stuff
Awesome.
to get that good source of protein.
Yes. All right. So, favorite vegan food product?
I mean, my default is tofu.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
Easy.
I hated tofu before being vegan. I hated the stuff, and now I'm like, what else can I do with this? Because it's awesome. What's all that
It's
about?
incredible.
It is, and I think because there's substance to it, it's substantial. I think one of the things that people are nervous about is that kind of the mouth feel and that because meat, you knew you had it in your mouth, you knew you were having to chew it and digest it and swallow it, and it was, you could feel it going down through your gullet, you know.
Yeah.
Just remind me, this is a vegan podcast, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there was a whole kind of process around it. And maybe you think the kind of vegetables are a bit sort of soggy, stodgy, and didn't have that same kind of substance. But actually, like, you know, I'll cook tofu now to sort of almost char it, and it's got that nice kind of crispiness. You can flour, you know, and almost kind of get it kind of frying, but don't do that a lot. But yeah, and you can do so much with it, marinate it. But the silken tofu as well in a what do you call it? Like a ramen type sort of bowl with silken as well. Really nice. Really.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah, silken tofu. Amazing.
What about your favourite vegan non-food product? Beard balm, makeup.
Deodorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got deodorant stick that I use. Also, I have the tea tree mint shower gel.
Oh yeah.
And that's vegan approved.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
So
that stuff that tingles in the shower, you mean?
Yeah, that stuff tingles.
Depends where you put it with.
Yeah.
Well, bearing in mind I have a cold shower every morning outside under the hose pipe, a combination of that as well.
Yeah.
You know you're alive. You
don't need any coffee to wake you up in the morning then.
Dude, I tell you, it's like if you're in a funk, if your head's kind of somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you are just
going to wake you right up.
It's survival. It's
holy moly.
Older in the morning. It's like,
yeah, who needs caffeine when you've got mint shower gel on your bits in a freezing cold shower outside?
Coffee, so I get double whammy. That's my little reward for being out in the cold shower.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll allow that. All right, favorite vegan restaurants.
There's one called Thrive. I think it's Thrive in Southampton, which is really nice. We've got one called what's the name of it? I'll think of it. Can't think of it. The name's gone. But yeah, definitely Thrive is good. I'll think of the other one. Probably when we're, but yeah.
It'll come to you tomorrow morning when you're in the shower.
Will. There's a couple. There is a couple.
It's that. So Southampton's your area. Is what's the vegan scene like down there?
It's not bad. I mean, the majority of places, and this is another great thing about being vegan, is you don't have a lot of choice.
Yes.
So
that is a big thing.
Menu going, oh, God, no, I should have that. Oh, gosh, should I have that? I'm really, really pissed off that I got that because I should have had. It's like, well, you've got one starter, one main, and maybe
sorbet for dessert.
Maybe got a dessert. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
And it's the majority of the time it's like sorbet. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Do better.
Nation. So yeah, that's a bonus of not having to make a huge decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a member of Vegan Runners, which I'm contractually obliged to mention every episode. But the reason I bring it up is because every week, like on the Facebook page, they do a roundup of which areas got the most vegan runners taking part in park runs. And
Yeah.
Southampton, Eastleigh, I can't remember the other one. There's a third one, but they are always in the top 3 for the most vegan runners turning out every single week.
Girl at the running club that we used to be members of because we moved recently, and there's a girl there that's vegan runner, and she's part of the vegan runners as well. Even on her Strava account, she's got a V next to it, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I don't know how to do it.
Someone had to show me because I saw somebody else with it. So you write it in, so you write it like as if you're doing a Facebook post or something, and use an emoji at the end, and then copy the whole thing, and then paste it onto your Strava profile.
Wow. Okay, that's technical, mate.
That's
That's technical. I've remembered the other restaurant's called Offbeat.
Offbeat.
So beet as in like beetroot. Offbeat.
Nice.
Cool.
See, I like Wes never used to like tofu. I never used to like beetroot. I used to think it was, but I'd only ever had it because I'm so old. I'd only ever had it like in the 80s when it was always that pickled stuff, and it was always. I had it maybe like twice, and I was like, I'm never eating this again. And then I went somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but it was part of a dish, and it wasn't the pickled stuff. It was actual beetroot, and I was like, where have you been all my life? This is amazing.
So, what about your favourite vegan people? So, people that have inspired you around the vegan community. Obviously, your daughter, because it's her fault that you're where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to Rich Roll pop a lot. He's been vegan for quite a while. Trying to think of other kind of influence. He's the main one that sort of instantly crops up. But there's been a few others that have sort of gone vegan. I think Bear Grylls went vegan for a while, but now is back to eating meat again. I find it interesting that people that I speak to that have been vegan have gone back to eating meat, and like they've been vegan for years, and then just suddenly decided to go back to eating meat again, and they would cite poor health.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Said, look, I just it didn't work for me. I was this, I was that, and so I went back to eating meat. So I find that really interesting that people have gone the other way. So yeah, I mean, again, each their own. But it's a bit like smoking, I suppose. It's like people that don't smoke for 20 years and then start smoking again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And it's not always just a dietary thing, is it? It's can be mental pressures as well that push you back to something that you knew before, I guess, a bit like the smoking thing, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. But it's that sort of the narrative that you have in your head. It's like it'll tell you, what it is that you want to hear. And we're looking for answers, we're looking for reasons all the time. And I think if you decide that meat is, the lack of meat is the reason why you don't feel great, perhaps you should look at other elements of your diet or exercise or lifestyle or whatever to try and find the answers rather than going, oh, well, it's clearly meat, that's
it, because, there's plenty of what we'd call ancient vegans in a very friendly way, but people who've been vegan 30, 35 years, we've spoken to them here, and it can't just be not eating meat that is the thing that turns people back to meat, because otherwise those ancient vegans wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Because they would have gone back to meat long ago. So there is another part to it, isn't there? Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got to. It's like with the fasting. I've had conversations with a couple of people about even that. You need to know what your motivation is for anything that you're doing. So with veganism, what is your motivation for doing that? Is it environment, health, or animals? The fasting, what my motivation actually in the first instance was the fact that weekend I found out I could do it. And just the mere fact I knew I could do it, I was like, well, actually, I can continue doing that. And apparently there's probably some health benefits to it. But in the first week, I was like, I feel amazing. Why am I not going to keep doing this?
Yeah. I call it the Roger Bannister effect. It's that sort of thing that's like, nobody had run the mile under 4 minutes. Nobody thought it was possible until somebody did it.
Yeah.
And there was a whole shitload of people that did it once he'd done it, because the floodgates were open, the possibilities were there, and off they went. So it was like, when you realise you can do it, the possibilities are endless. It's like, well, I didn't even know I could do this. I didn't know it was possible that I could go 5 days without eating anything. Like a cup of black coffee in the morning and water. Didn't take any electrolytes, didn't do anything like that. It was, what did I kind of supplement? I think it was black coffee, and I put a bit of cinnamon in it occasionally. Wow. That was it.
I've not tried that. I will try that in the morning. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to waking up in the morning just for that.
I've just started chuckling to myself because you mentioned him putting something in coffee. It's just reminded me of something I did at the weekend, and I'd read somewhere that was it 1 teaspoon or half a teaspoon of ginger a day can help a lot with anti-inflammatory and gut health, all kinds of stuff. It's like one of these super things. So I thought, I've read about people putting ginger in coffee. I'll give it a go. So I put half a teaspoon in a cup of coffee, and it nearly blew my head off. I took one sip, and it was like I could feel it down my throat for about an hour and a half. I was like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
So I haven't done that since.
Ginger shots are brilliant. They blow your head off.
Well, remember what we said about starting slowly.
That was it. But I put it in the smoothie, in like a fruit smoothie that I have most days. I put it in that, and I can barely taste it.
Yeah.
But I guess it was because it was only coffee, and it was just so strong. I was like, "You absolute wand."
More volume, a cup of coffee.
Exactly, that's it. Exactly. Yeah. Do not recommend. 1 star.
No. But what I would recommend, if ever you feel like there's a cold coming on, or you've got kind of, throat start to go or whatever, black pepper tea. So literally just hot water with a good few grinds of black pepper. Give that a stir around, drink that, sort you out of trouble.
Amazing.
No.
That sounds like that's going to blow your head off as well. Just the way you're saying it, I'm thinking it's going to
not that bad. It is
not chili powder, Wes. Pepper.
Yeah, not chili powder.
No.
And if you really want to be flash, put a little slice of lemon in there as well.
Nice.
Lemon and pepper tea. Okay.
And a brolly.
and a teaspoon of ginger.
Oh God, no. Yeah, that will blow your head off, and you'll never have to worry about having a cold.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, what advice would you give to anyone who's thinking about going vegan?
Crikey. They were thinking about going vegan. I mean, just don't set yourself up for going, again, full in, going totally in. Try it. So my in-laws, have now sort of gone to like 2 or 3 days a week without meat. So again, don't go cold turkey. Just
Cold turkey.
just ease yourself in, one meal at a time. See how you feel. But yeah, I would really kind of fill up on veggies, and don't go down the kind of processed vegan route. And it's a weird thing, actually. I remember the first time I had a Beyond Burger. It came in one of the, I think it was either Beyond Burger or it was Impossible Burger or something like that, and it came with a gusto, and it tasted so much like a burger, but without the greasiness.
Mm-hmm.
That I almost felt like I can't eat this.
Yeah.
So it's this weird sort of dichotomy. And again, another thing is like lab-grown meat. I don't know if you've ever had that mentioned on the podcast.
Oh, we've had it
yeah.
mentioned. Sorry, yeah.
Mentioned, because
Never eaten it.
That's a weird sort of contentious kind of point, that actually if it was never sentient and it was grown in a petri dish, what does that look like?
Yeah.
In terms of eating that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that sort of leads me on from the whole kind of like Impossible Burger experience, that it was so much like on a mouthfeel, taste, in that bun, vegan cheese on the top and all that sort of thing. It was like, holy moly, that's nearest damn thing I've had.
Good.
And I think that what they are doing is to make it, if they can make it as near as possible to meat, that's how they're going to convert meat eaters to become plant-based. If it's got the same taste, if it can be produced in such a way that if you are a meat eater, you could eat that and still feel like you're eating meat. That's the way they're going to do it. That's the market forces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And a lot of vegans, I think, would probably be up on their high horse, which isn't vegan, but they would be up on their high horse about that, saying, oh yeah, but they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it for the animals. They're doing it because they still think they're eating meat. But I mean, at the end of the day, if animals aren't being killed for food, then does it matter, really?
Who cares? It's like
the outcome is the same, but the reason is different.
Yeah. So kind of morally on our soapboxes, but the end is the same, exactly as you said. Yeah.
So this is our last one. We started asking this question off the back of finding out about the term dystopia, which is the anguish that vegans feel living in a endlessly carnist world. So do you have any hope for the future? Do you see any changes happening?
Yeah, seeing it already. As I said, I think the consumption of red meat, if you believe the reports and you see the statistics, is quite dramatically down. I think the beef industry is suffering, and less so, as I said, poultry.
Yeah.
Not sure about pigs. I would assume that pigs are a similar situation to cattle, to beef. And I think there is an upward trend in becoming more plant-based and certainly consuming less meat. I don't know what will become completely, that way anytime soon. I think the resistance is still huge, but I think it's moving in the right direction. I think the groundswell, I went down to Bournemouth last weekend. There was a vegan food show down there, and talking to the store holders, they're just literally on a circuit of vegan food festivals, which sustains them as store holders. So it's not like they're doing this and they've got sort of like a shop or something like that. The majority of them are just nomadically going around these vegan festivals. So and there's there were a couple there that were producing vegan, like artisan vegan cheese. There was another one that were doing these kind of, confectionery and stuff like that. So, and they're, husband and wives just doing it from home. They had corporate jobs, chucked it in, and they're now making vegan cheese in their kitchen.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is cool.
So yeah, I think there's hope.
Love that. So, James, obviously you did the retreat earlier in the year, which Wes went to. Are there any more planned? What's the situation there?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wear lots of different hats, and because I've got no hair.
Yeah, we have to when it gets cold, don't we?
Yeah, and it's been a bit sunny as well. So I would love to do another one. Maybe a different location. I've been talking to another guy actually that has been running retreats for about the last 3 or 4 years, and we may sort of do something together. I'd love to do another one with Nathan for sure. It's the logistics of it and getting it going. What we have found, and in conversations, is the majority, and Wes, you can back me up on this, is that it's the women that are sending the men along to these.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, I suppose. Yeah, that now that you say that does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, guys are not necessarily.
I'd always wanted to go on a retreat, and I knew Nathan was doing that with you, and I still wouldn't have gone. It was Michelle that said, "This is your opportunity. Go and do it."
Yeah, you needed the permission. So, when we're looking at it, it's like, well, there's so many guys that have gone, well, I didn't even know I was coming on it. My wife bought it and then told me I was going.
It's a lads' weekend. Lads.
But you don't have a choice, because it's like ultimatum time. Go on this retreat or we're fucking divorcing. It's as simple as that. So, I think in terms of our marketing and the messaging, it should be targeted at women. Because
targeted at women for men.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And if we get their permission, we're all over it. We're like, yeah, fuck, I'm doing that. That's great. Yeah. As long as you're right with it, and but we've got to get women on board to endorse it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or partners. Let's say partners to endorse.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be both sides. So, yeah. But would love to do another one.
Yeah.
It's just, getting the timing right. I mean, I'm in the process right in the middle at the moment. I'm organising an exhibition in Southampton, business-to-business exhibition. We've got 106 exhibitors and over 1,000 visitors that I've got to get in through the door. So that's kind of
a lot of vegetable stew, James.
A lot of vegetable stew. Very, very small portions for that.
Here's your saucer of vegetable stew.
Yeah.
Come back tomorrow for another one.
Here's a courgette now. Fuck off. That's what it's going to be like.
Oh God. Man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming, James. It's been a pleasure seeing you again.
And
it's been really fascinating. Thank you so much. I've learned a huge amount there.
You're welcome. And Wes, if you can just trim the beard up a little bit next time, mate. So
that you match. Come on.
All right, fair enough. And I'll wear a dark grey hoodie.
Yeah, just the middle of the head as well, if you could.
Yeah. That's him exerting his masculinity there. Look at him growing hair in the middle of his head. Cool.
Yeah. Anybody can do that.
Matthew can.
No, I can't.
The day I had this mad idea I was going to get one of those bloody tattoos. They have the hair.
No way.
Jesus, midlife crisis.
Yeah, just get a motorbike or a sports car or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Or like Dave Grohl and have another kid on the side or whatever.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. That's been brilliant.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
There's nothing better than a hunk of prime Labrador steak, wonderfully marbled. And that is almost entirely dependent on how it's produced. Elwood's Organic Dog Meat has complete control of this entire journey. So I'm here at Elwood's farm to find out a little more about it.
Welcome to Elwood Farms.
Thank you very much, Elwood.
I hear you do a bit of barbecuing?
I do a little bit of barbecuing every now and then, yes.
From a chef's point of view, consistency is key for everything.
It doesn't matter if it's a Rottweiler ribeye, a Pyrenees mince, or a Lab sirloin.
You can always tell when the dog comes from a place where it was well reared. And every step has to be right, doesn't it? Oh, you should see these guys. So, from an Elwood's point of view, there's complete traceability.
Absolutely, unrivaled traceability, so it's fine.
Every single piece of dog meat.
Yeah, from pup to farmer's market.
Everything the dog's been fed.
Everything about it.
For each dog.
Yeah, only Marks and Spencer's and Whole Foods do this.
Where else can people order from?
From elwooddogmeat.com. That's ELWOOD dogmeat.com.
For top quality meat from dogs for people, meat that's local, sustainable, and humanely harvested, there's only Elwood's Organic Dog Meat.
They seem pretty friendly, don't they? They're more responsive to me than my kids, to be honest.
Elwood's Dog Meat playing us out there, voiced by our good friend Molly Elwood, and of course Jake Yap. And Jake posted Instagram story today, which dates the recording that we're making, and it's scared the shit out of me. Basically, it says it's an article from, I'm not sure where it's from, but basically says the headline is this: Wes, you'll like this actually. Thousands of rare spiders the size of rats released across the UK.
Yes, I've seen it.
What the fuck? What?
Yeah. Do you know the story?
No, and I don't want to. I'm never going to sleep again.
Absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. So it's there's some spiders that were virtually extinct from the Norfolk fens, and they've been reintroduced. They've always been there.
So they're all the way over in Norfolk.
All the way over in Norfolk, and they only live in very flat, marshy plains like the fens.
Oh, thank fuck for that. Okay.
So yeah, don't you worry, we're all fine. I saw
Okay.
it and I thought, this is how does the media know they're trying to scaremonger me with spiders now? So click,
Why tell me that?
and then actually you read the story and it's actually really good. It's biodiversity going back to where it should be.
Fine. Okay. So anyway,
we need spiders. Although they're scary to a lot of people, including me and you, we do need them. But when the headline says they're as big as rats and they lay hundreds of eggs, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually really good.
Okay. Now that I'm vegan, I don't find it difficult not squashing a spider.
No.
Like, pre-vegan, it would have been get me a shoe, that fucker's gone.
Yeah.
But now it's get me a glass, and then I'll put a card and take it outside, and
Yeah.
then burn the house down just in case it comes
I
back.
do try and just leave them.
No, do you?
There was one in our downstairs toilet a few days ago, and it was. I went in there and I had a wee, and there's a mirror. You look at yourself while you're having a wee, and I looked in the mirror, and it was behind me on the wall there, and I was just like, "Ah!" I thought I've got to walk out now. Oh no, it wasn't that big. It was,
Josh has done you there, Wes.
it was the size of a fucking dinner plate, I tell you.
How big is your dinner plate? Is that because you're only eating a small bowl of vegetable stew?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how big your dinner plate is.
It wasn't even that big.
So anyway, this is an outro. So
Thanks, Josh.
That was I love that chat.
That was amazing. Really enjoyed that.
I thought it was gonna. I know he's a legend. I know I had good conversations with him on the retreat, and when he said he was vegan, I was like, "Please come on, it's going to be great."
That was awesome.
He's really well informed. The thoughts he has, they come from having read stuff, finding stuff out. It's not just I've seen a post like what we do. He wouldn't say something unless he has read
properly
all angles of it. He's just great. I love him to bits. And I met him for a weekend, and I think he's awesome.
Brilliant.
So,
Love that. Yeah, that was a really, really inspiring and interesting chat. I love that.
Yeah.
So, listener, if you've enjoyed that, why not tell us about it? And if you haven't enjoyed it, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
But if you've enjoyed it, tell us. And if you want to join us on a future episode, then also tell us. Come and find us on Instagram at How I Vegan Podcast.
Or email howiveganpodcast@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Bye.
See you next time.